It was supposed to be the beginning of forever, a honeymoon in paradise. But for 29-year-old Emily Hartman, paradise would turn into a personal hell. On a warm April morning, hotel staff at a luxury resort in Cancun discovered a man lying lifeless on the marble floor of a honeymoon suite. His wife was found beside him, sobbing uncontrollably, with a kitchen knife in her hand. The victim was 31-year-old Matthew Collins, newlywed, financial analyst, and by all accounts, madly in love with his bride. The woman arrested was his wife of just 4 days. The motive? A dark secret uncovered too late. One that unraveled the foundation of trust and love they'd spent years building. To understand how love curdled into murder, we must first go back. Back to where it all began, in the heart of Austin, Texas, where Emily Hartman and her best friend, Rachel Monroe, grew up together like sisters. Emily Hartman was raised by a single mother, a schoolteacher. Bright, determined, and deeply loyal, she was the kind of friend who'd give you her last dollar. And she did, many times, for Rachel. Rachel Monroe was the wild one. Glamorous, impulsive, and never content with what she had. While Emily earned her nursing degree, Rachel hopped from one short-lived job to the next, always landing on her feet, thanks in part to Emily's generosity. Then came Matthew. Emily met him during a hospital charity gala. He was charming, confident, with a career in finance and a magnetic smile that disarmed everyone, including Rachel. Matthew and Emily's relationship moved quickly. Within a year, he proposed. But while friends cheered, Rachel's reaction was icy. She offered a forced smile and a hug, but Emily noticed something in her eyes, something cold. Rachel later tried to convince Emily to delay the wedding. "You don't really know him," she'd said. "He seems too perfect." But Emily dismissed her concerns, chalking it up to jealousy. What Emily didn't know, what she couldn't have imagined, was that Rachel and Matthew had been sleeping together for nearly 6 months. It started innocently enough. At a birthday party Emily threw for Rachel. Matthew had too much to drink. Rachel comforted him after a minor argument he had with Emily. One thing led to another. That night changed everything. Rachel told herself it was a mistake. Matthew told her it meant nothing. But neither could stop. What began as a single betrayal became a toxic secret neither dared reveal. Over the next 2 years, they met in secret. Rachel called in sick to work. Matthew claimed business trips. The deception deepened. And all the while, Emily gushed about her wedding plans, oblivious. Rachel was tormented. She hated herself for what she was doing. But she also hated Emily, for having the life she wanted, for always being the good one, for winning Matthew's ring. And yet, she said yes when Emily asked her to be maid of honor. She stood by her side at the bridal shower, helped pick out her wedding dress, held her hand through tears of joy. Behind the scenes, she begged Matthew to end the wedding, to call it off. "She doesn't deserve this," Rachel said. But Matthew didn't listen. Or maybe he didn't care. The wedding was held on a vineyard estate in Texas Hill Country. Sunset, vows, applause. Everyone saw a fairy tale. No one saw the storm brewing. During the reception, Rachel got drunk. Too drunk. She danced with Matthew a little too long. Her eyes lingered on him across the room. Emily didn't notice, but Matthew did. And so did one of Emily's cousins. That cousin, Lily, pulled Emily aside the next morning. "Something's off with Rachel and Matt," she warned. But Emily laughed it off. "Rachel's just lonely. She gets weird at weddings." Then came the honeymoon. 7 days in Cancun. Ocean view suite. Champagne. Emily thought it was the start of a dream. But within 48 hours, it became a nightmare. On their second night, Emily noticed Matthew texting, often. He brushed it off. "Work stuff," he said. But he was always smiling when he looked at his phone. Emily felt the distance growing. The next morning, Emily went through his phone while he was in the shower. Something she had never done before. And that's when she saw it. A message from Rachel. "It should have been me. Come home to me." Emily froze. Her heart thundered, her knees buckled, she scrolled. There were dozens of messages, photos, videos, dates, lies. 2 years of betrayal, unfolding on a tiny screen. When Matthew came out of the shower, she was sitting on the bed, phone in hand, tears in her eyes. He knew, and he didn't even try to deny it. He said he was sorry, that it was over, that it was a mistake. But the damage was done. Emily's world had shattered. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not then. She got dressed and left the hotel room. She walked the beach alone for hours. Replay after replay of every moment, every lie, echoing in her mind. When she returned, Matthew was drinking at the hotel bar. She didn't speak to him. That night, she didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, remembering the night he proposed. The next day, they tried to pretend. They had breakfast by the pool. They made small talk. But Emily's silence was heavy, her smile brittle. She began Googling things in secret. Signs of emotional manipulation, infidelity, trauma. What to do when your husband cheats with your best friend. By day 4, Emily had started drinking, more than usual. She ordered tequila with lunch, wine by the pool, rum at dinner. Matthew grew concerned, but he said nothing. That night, they argued, loudly. Security was almost called. A vase was broken. Emily told Matthew, "You didn't just cheat on me, you poisoned my entire life." The hotel manager paid them a visit the next morning. There had been complaints. The couple apologized. Emily blamed it on jet lag and too many margaritas. But behind the apology was a seething rage. Emily made a phone call to Rachel that afternoon. She said she just wanted to talk. Rachel sounded nervous but answered anyway. Emily's voice was calm, almost too calm. "What did he promise you?" Emily asked. Rachel hesitated, then lied. "It didn't mean anything. It was just a phase. I'm sorry." But her voice shook, and Emily heard it. That night, Emily took a walk by the ocean. A long one. The moon was high, casting silver over the waves. Witnesses would later say she looked like she was in a trance. She returned to the suite just after midnight. Matthew was asleep. She stood over him in the dark, watching him breathe. She held a pillow in her hand, but she didn't act, yet. Instead, she went into the bathroom and turned on the shower to muffle the sound. Then she screamed into a towel until her voice cracked. The betrayal had broken something inside her. The next day was quiet. Too quiet. They barely spoke. Emily wore sunglasses at breakfast to hide her swollen eyes. Matthew looked tired, ashamed. The tension was a noose tightening around them both. Rachel texted again that evening. "I need to see you when you get back. Please don't hate me." Emily read the message, then threw the phone into the sea. That night, Emily asked Matthew to stay in the suite with her. "Let's talk," she said. "Really talk." He was relieved. He thought maybe forgiveness was coming. He had no idea what she had planned. They drank wine together on the balcony, talked about memories. Emily laughed for the first time in days, but there was something hollow behind it, something final. Inside, she lit candles, put on music, created what looked like a romantic setup. Matthew thought they were reconnecting. He didn't notice her eyes were dry, soulless. They made love that night, one last time. And when it was over, Emily whispered, "You made me feel like I was enough, until I found out I was just the backup plan." He tried to explain again, tried to say Rachel didn't matter. But this time, Emily wasn't listening. She was staring at the fruit knife on the minibar counter. At 3:42 a.m., hotel guests on the 8th floor reported hearing a blood-curdling scream, a woman's scream. And then, silence. Security rushed to room 807. The door was ajar. Inside, they found Emily collapsed beside the bed. Her hands were covered in blood. Matthew's body was twisted on the floor, lifeless. He had been stabbed 3 times. Once in the chest, once in the stomach, and once in the neck. The blade still lay beside his body, red and glistening. Emily was arrested on the spot. She didn't resist. She didn't cry. She didn't speak, just stared at Matthew's body with a blank expression that chilled the room. The news broke across the U.S. within hours. Texas woman kills husband on honeymoon in Mexico. Media outlets swarmed her hometown. Neighbors were stunned, but no one was more shocked than Rachel. She found out from a push notification on her phone. She fainted in her living room before police could even reach her for questioning. Rachel was brought in for questioning by Austin PD. She denied any knowledge of the murder plot but admitted to the affair. She cried during the interrogation, said she never wanted this. Rachel told police, "I begged him not to marry her. I told him she'd find out. I told him this would end badly." Her voice cracked. "But I never thought she'd kill him." Emily was extradited back to the U.S. after a brief stay in a Mexican jail. Her mugshot showed a hollow-eyed woman, emotionally and mentally broken. Lawyers argued temporary insanity, claimed the trauma of betrayal caused a psychological snap, that she acted in a blind haze of emotional collapse. But prosecutors painted a different picture, one of premeditation, of a woman who felt the walls close in and chose vengeance over healing. Text records, travel logs, hotel footage, everything was put on display. The jury watched as Emily's entire life was dismantled piece by painful piece. The trial lasted 14 days. Rachel testified on the stand. So did Emily's mother, who sobbed as she said, "My daughter was a good person, until they broke her." In a shocking moment of testimony, Emily turned to the courtroom and said, "I didn't kill him because he cheated. I killed him because he made me doubt my worth, and I'll never forgive him for that." The courtroom fell silent. Even the judge looked shaken. Some jurors wept. Others stared straight ahead. The weight of the confession was undeniable. Emily was found guilty of second-degree murder. The jury was split on premeditation but agreed she had crossed a line. She was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Rachel moved away from Texas. She changed her name, cut ties with nearly everyone. Her social media vanished. Some say she still sends letters to Emily, but no one knows if they're ever answered. In her first year behind bars, Emily refused all visitors. She stayed isolated, withdrawn. The other inmates called her the widow, but she didn't flinch when they did. She spent her days reading, mostly books on psychology, grief, and betrayal. She said she was trying to understand what broke her, but deep down, she knew the answer. A prison counselor, Carla Mendez, would later say, "She didn't cry for her husband. She cried for the woman she used to be." Meanwhile, Matthew's parents launched a wrongful death suit against Emily. They said their son made a mistake, not a death-worthy one. Emily didn't contest the suit. She signed over every asset she had, including her share of the house they bought together just weeks before the wedding. Rachel was deposed in that civil case. It was the last time she ever spoke publicly. She ended the deposition with one sentence: "I never loved him the way she did." In the years that followed, Emily became something of a mystery. She never gave interviews. She didn't write a book. She didn't seek sympathy. She simply vanished behind steel bars. But then, on the 5th anniversary of the murder, a letter surfaced, one she'd written to her younger self. It read, "Don't let love blind you. It can become a weapon, and you will be its first victim." The letter went viral. True crime forums exploded with debate. Was Emily a cold-blooded killer, or a broken woman driven to the edge by betrayal? A popular podcast interviewed Rachel anonymously. She didn't reveal much, but her closing words haunted listeners. "I destroyed her life, but she destroyed her soul." Journalists tried to track Rachel down. She'd legally changed her name and moved to the Pacific Northwest. A neighbor described her as quiet, haunted, and always looking over her shoulder. Matthew's grave in Austin remains well kept. His family visits every year, but they don't speak about Emily. His mother once said, "That name died the day my son did." Inside the prison, Emily eventually started tutoring other inmates, English mostly. She never talked about her past unless asked directly. Her answers were always the same. "It's a story you don't want to live." A documentary team requested access to film her. She declined, But one guard said he caught her watching true crime shows sometimes. Maybe trying to see herself from the outside, he speculated. The hotel in Cancun never fully recovered from the incident. Room 807 is no longer rented out. Staff refer to it as La Habitación Silenciada, the silenced room. Newlyweds still visit Cancun, oblivious to what happened there. But locals know. Some even claim they've seen a woman in a white dress, standing by the water, screaming into the wind. One tourist posted a TikTok. Heard a woman crying last night by the ocean. Staff said it was nothing, but it sounded so angry, like mourning and fury all at once. Emily has now served 8 years of her sentence. She becomes eligible for parole in 2045. Some believe she'll walk free. Others say she'll never truly be free, not from what she did. Rachel reportedly tried to start over. She married a man from Oregon, had a child. But insiders say the marriage didn't last. Trust issues haunted her. She once told a friend, "No matter how far I run, Emily's eyes follow me." The guilt was an echo she couldn't silence. Psychologists have studied Emily's case. They call it a perfect storm of betrayal trauma, narcissistic injury, and emotional collapse. One wrote, "It wasn't just the affair. It was that he took away her future, her pride, her safety. And in a paradise meant for healing, she became something unrecognizable." Emily's parents stopped visiting after the 3rd year. Her mother left a voicemail. "We don't know who you are anymore, and maybe you don't either." Her wedding ring, blood-stained and confiscated during arrest, remains in a sealed evidence box in Austin PD's archive. No one wants it, not even her. True crime books have covered the case, always with sensational headlines. Murder in Cancun, bride of betrayal, vows and violence. But none capture the quiet unraveling that led to that night. Emily often walks laps in the prison yard, alone. Inmates give her space. She is neither feared nor respected, just known. A cautionary tale in Human Foe, she once told her counselor. "If he had just told me the truth before the wedding, I might have walked away. But he lied, right into my vows." Rachel still sends a card every year. No return address, just a single line, "I hope you find peace." Emily never replies. Some say Emily regrets what she did. Others say she regrets getting caught. Only she knows for sure, and she's not telling. But every year, on the anniversary of the murder, she goes silent. No books, no lessons, no smiles, just silence. As if she's reliving it moment by moment. A journalist once asked if she'd ever forgive Rachel. Her answer was swift. "I already did. The day I killed him." "And what about Matthew?" "I loved him," she said, "and I hated him. That's the most dangerous combination in the world." Emily never remarried. She never dated. When asked if she still believes in love, she replied, "I believe in lies that look like love." The murder changed 3 lives and ended 1. But it also left behind a question that still haunts many. How far can betrayal push a person before they break? People don't always snap suddenly. Sometimes it's slow. A silent erosion, bit by bit, until there's nothing left but fire. Cancun sunsets remain beautiful. The waves still crash. But to some, that place will never be romantic again. It will always be the scene of the crime. Rachel now lives in solitude. She keeps a photo of her and Emily from college tucked inside a drawer. She hasn't looked at it in years, but she can't throw it away. Emily writes poetry now. One of her pieces ends like this. "He said forever. She said I do, but secrets and silence tore them in two." The story of Emily, Matthew, and Rachel is one of love, betrayal, and destruction. A story where no one truly won. A love triangle carved into history by blood. And so we leave you with this. If you hide the truth from someone who trusts you, you don't just risk losing them, you risk destroying them. And sometimes, they don't go quietly.